on Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Congressional leaders say they've reached a deal over the weekend that may help avoid a looming shutdown. We'll tell you how Congress plans to allocate the new trillion-dollar deal. And a driver took Victoria police on a high-speed chase through the south side of the city. It's all caught on tape. What we've learned through our own investigation coming up. Turning now to the raging war between Hamas and Israel. Sunday marked 3 months since the surprise attack on Israel that killed hundreds. We'll tell you where the death toll stands today, 3 months into the war.
And I think we might see some severe weather coming our way this afternoon with some real roller coaster weather throughout the rest of this week. We'll take a look at that, the weather coming up.
The Cowboys and the Texans, a division title on the line. I'll have that in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain.
And I'm Parker Cox.
And today it's the 8th day of January 2024. The time is now 6:30 on our Monday morning and it's Argyle Day. But Parker isn't rocking the Argyle today. Today he's got some lightning bolts on his tie.
I've got a lightning bolt on my tie. This is one of my new ties I got for Christmas. Actually, if you remember last week, I wore my brand new rain tie, rain shower tie. I love these cool ties. I love it so much.
Well, they're going to be matching our forecast because, Parker, we've got some precipitation.
Yeah, we got more than precipitation coming our way this afternoon, Carolina. We got possibly some severe thunderstorms. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Because if you are waking up this morning, if you're just tuning in, look at a live look at eastern Victoria, where it's quite nice out there. Now, our temperature gauges and all of our rest of our instruments are not working right now. We're going to try and fix that, get that up and working for tomorrow morning. But I can safely tell you it's about 67 degrees. You can see right there on the banner, but also quite windy out there as well. It's going to be windy for the rest of the day. We'll take a look at that in just a moment because look at your alert day details because I'm issuing an alert day for today because we got that severe weather in the Jackson, Wharton, and Matagorda counties especially, but also in Victoria and Lavaca County as well. But we're thinking those thunderstorms are going to start developing late afternoon around between 3 and 5 p.m. That's when that squall line is going to actually start developing, bringing possibly some strong winds, small hail. We're talking small hail, probably up to an inch. Maybe a couple storms might have an inch and a half or so hail, but strong winds, strong winds. That's going to be all day today as well. But a tornado can also not be ruled out. So if you do see a tornado coming your way, the best place to be in the case of an event of a tornado is the centermost room or part of your house or apartment away from any windows and glass because you don't want that glass to shatter and start flying around in the air and scratch you up. But take a look at that issue. That risk was issued by the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. They got a slight risk, which is a level 2 out of 5 risk. You got, like I said, Jackson, Wharton, and Matagorda counties are in that bubble, including Houston as well. So if you have any family over there, you might want to let them know. They might see some severe weather head their way. But even, like I said, Victoria County and Lavaca County are also in that level 1 out of 5, which is more of a risk. But you can see here where the real risk is over there in the east, where near Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where they got to see probably some big tornadoes today. Going to be a big weather day for them. Even here in the Crossroads today, though. But take a look at your live Doppler right now. Not too much out there, really, except for a couple weak showers, maybe some drizzle up there in Hallettsville and Gonzales. But if you look at your future tracker here, it's going to be a completely different story. Like I said, going into the afternoon, around noontime, you see a couple of showers and thunderstorms starting to develop along a squall lines can develop in the northwestern counties. Coming through our area probably around 3, 4, 5 p.m. like I was saying, with maybe a couple embedded tornadoes in there. Strong winds and some small hail are the main risk. Now, like I said, we've got some more weather coming our way this week, but we'll take a look at that and more in just a few more moments. Carolina, I heard you got some breaking news this morning. What you got?
Parker, the United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket launched on its first inaugural flight early this morning. The rocket lifted off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida at 2:18 a.m. Eastern. It's carrying the private Astrobotic Peregrine moonlander and human remains on a mission to the moon in deep space. The powerful rocket was under development for a decade by the Boeing Lockheed Venture United Launch Alliance. It will mark the first U.S. soft landing on the moon since the final Apollo landing in 1972 and the first ever lunar landing by a private company. Authorities have called off a search for a 10-year-old Cuero boy who reportedly ran away on Sunday. The Cuero Police Department says Derek Gordon's now safe and back home with his parents this morning. Cuero Police want to thank the community for sharing the alert on social media. A viewer captured footage of VPD in a full-blown high-speed chase over the weekend. You can see a truck speeding through a residential area on the city's south side. This video taken around 3:30 Sunday morning. The truck reportedly sustained some damage during the pursuit. Right now, it's unclear what happened in the moments leading up to the chase. We've reached out to VPD for those details, and we're still waiting to hear back. In the meantime, we've looked into jail records and found that VPD booked a Jesus Benavides for evading arrest. However, it's not confirmed if his arrest has any connection to the pursuit. Congressional leaders have reached a top-line spending agreement that could help avoid a partial government shutdown later this month. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the deal in a letter to their colleagues Sunday. The agreement establishes an overall spending level of $1.59 trillion in fiscal year 2024. Johnson says the breakdown is $886 billion for the military, $704 billion for non-defense spending as well. President Biden praised the agreement in a statement. However, Congress still needs to allocate the money, write the bills, pass them before the January 19th deadline. Sunday marked 3 months since Hamas attacked Israel, killing 1,200 Israelis. It was on October 7, 2023, that the militant group Hamas launched a surprise attack on southern Israel. Following that attack, Israel launched an extensive aerial bombardment of the Gaza Strip and ground invasion. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to eliminate Hamas as the conflict continues. The health ministry says the death toll in Gaza has climbed to more than 22,000 Sunday. We've recently had all of the mayoral candidates live on 25 News Now at 5 to hear their various platforms, and now we're giving you a chance to learn more about their character and personality. We asked them all the same 4 questions. The first one was for them to show us an item that's important to them from their home or office, and the second one was to talk to us about their dream job when they were a child. Number 3, if you're elected mayor, what is your greatest fear? And finally, we asked what their favorite quote is and why.
Book I did Your Guide to All Things Catacorn, and this is really important because my daughter Presley was diagnosed with autism, and she inspired me to do this book to give back to others, and that's my son and her. This book is so important to me because what it did is it took an idea out of my head and made it come to life, and it shows that if you dream it, you can do it. My dream job as a kid was to be an author, an astronaut, and someone that can make a living by helping other people have awesome lives. And what's super cool is I do all that. And also music, I wanted to perform. So that's why my life, when you look at it, I do all these different things, but they make sense. And little me is like, ah! My biggest fear if elected as mayor is school shootings. I have children that attend the schools here, and that is a huge problem across the nation. And it's something that we face that we need to come up with solutions with. We need to work harder on, but it is something that terrifies me. I think that, it's one of those things I've lost sleep at night over thinking about. My favorite quote is from Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I believe that is a lot of what I'm running my campaign on, is that we can't keep saying we're running for lower taxes, all of these different things that we know the community is concerned about, but then we're not coming up with lasting solutions.
Also on the ballot, Josephine Solis, Dwayne Crocker, Peter Brown, Jacob Sauceda, and Robert Bob Constantine. Early voting starts January 17th and runs through January 30th. Join us Saturday, February 3rd for complete coverage of the special mayoral election. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. The time is now 6:38 on our Monday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. Rescue workers continuing their efforts and saved an elderly woman after more than 120 hours from a powerful earthquake.
I'm ABC's Em Nguyen in Washington. Questions still swirling around Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's quiet hospitalizations. More about the timeline and when the White House found out. The details coming up.
And coming up after the break, we'll take a look at your school bus forecast, that marine forecast as well, and later on Sunrise, we'll take another look at the severe weather possible this afternoon. Well, good morning, Crossroads. If y'all waking up this morning, if you're just tuning in, look at a live look at Aquaria. It's mostly cloudy out there, quite windy as well, and also quite nice out there for a nighttime temperature, 62 degrees starting out your morning temperature, starting out your morning this morning. But the dew point 61, just 1 degree off, got 97% humidity, so it's a little quite humid out there. And I also wouldn't be surprised if those winds pick up going into later this afternoon, because it's going to be a windy day for all of us here today. But looking at your live Doppler right now, we've only got a couple of weak showers out there right now. I guess all the ones in Bay City have dissipated, but really leaving all those showers and maybe a couple of moderate showers up there in Gonzales and Hallettsville right now. But if you're sending your kiddos off to school, if you're up there in Gonzales or Hallettsville, might want to give them an umbrella, because as they're heading out the door, got a couple of showers up there, but a little bit chilly, not too bad out there. 65 as they're heading out the door, with some drizzle and partly cloudy skies out there this morning, and maybe some patchy light fog as well. But warming up nicely into about 77, the upper 70s today, with some thunderstorms in the vicinity as they're heading back home around 3-4 p.m. Please be weather aware, because we might see some severe weather as well. Now, along with that severe weather, and there's really windy conditions today. Probably not a great day to go fishing, because you've got a red flag warning with those gusts up to 35 miles an hour, 35 knots possible. But for the rest of this week, got some roller coaster weather ahead of us with lots of windy conditions and some fronts. And we'll take a look at that more in just a few more moments. Kaylina, back to you.
Thank you, Parker. A wild year, and to the wild card round we go. And we now have the times and dates of the Texans and the Cowboys games. Sports reporter Zach Brown has more.
Saturday night, the Houston Texans just did hang on over the Colts, and they punched their ticket to the postseason. But what about that division? The Titans taking on the Jags. Jaguars trying to stage a comeback. Ryan Tannehill gets picked off, and the Jaguars in business, down just 8. But the Jags can't punch it in on 4th and goal. Tennessee holds at the 1-yard line. They get the win, 28-20. The Houston Texans are your AFC South champions. The Dallas Cowboys trying to win the division. All they need to do is win. Midway through the first quarter, Dak Prescott just going to put it up for grabs. Excellent play to get on the board first. Dak Prescott absolutely fired up. Just before the end of the first half, Dallas trying to keep their foot on the gas. CeeDee Lamb just stretches across the goal line. Dallas standing on business on the road, get the 38-10 win, and they win the NFC East. And we now know the game details for this wild card round weekend. Houston, by winning the division, will host the Cleveland Browns. That game, a Saturday affair, NRG Stadium, 3:30 p.m. The Dallas Cowboys will host the Green Bay Packers. Head coach Mike McCarthy going against his old team. Dallas hasn't lost a game at AT&T Stadium all year. That game Sunday, 3:30 p.m. And tonight at NRG Stadium, Michigan versus Washington for the national championship. With your 25 Sports Now, I'm Zach Brown.
Thank you, Zach. All right, we want to invite y'all to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, or Android TV. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. And now to the Defense Secretary's recent hospitalizations. Questions are still swirling around when the president was told and why Secretary Lloyd Austin's health condition was withheld from most top leaders, including the White House and Congress. Leaders say Austin had an unspecified surgery December 22nd and then was readmitted into intensive care about a week later, and he still remains in the hospital.
This morning, new details on the alarmingly quiet hospitalizations of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. A Pentagon official telling ABC News the 70-year-old four-star general had what was described as a minor elective procedure on December 22nd at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center before returning home the next day. The White House, top Pentagon officials, and at least the Secretary of State were all unaware of the surgery until after the fact.
I wasn't aware of his medical issue. In fact, I talked to Lloyd last weekend. What I can say is this: it has been, it remains one of the great privileges of my career, over 30 years now, working in government, to serve alongside Lloyd Austin.
About a week after that surgery, Austin was admitted to the ICU on New Year's Day after experiencing severe pain. Still, it was not until 3 days later on Thursday that officials say the White House was informed. Sunday, the Pentagon saying for privacy reasons we're not able to provide additional information. But some argue that level of privacy is not afforded to cabinet secretaries who are high up in the presidential line of succession. Even Congress was blindsided by the revelation. Washington.
It's pretty shocking on this because when you're the Secretary of Defense, you need to make everyone aware that you're actually going to be out of pocket.
The White House is publicly standing by Austin, saying President Joe Biden and Austin spoke on the phone Saturday and that the conversation was warm. But a U.S. official telling ABC News White House aides are angered by the lack of timely notification. The incident coming amid a heated election, with former President Trump calling on Austin to be fired immediately for improper professional conduct. The Pentagon says Austin is recovering well and had resumed duties Friday. Austin himself saying he could have done a better job informing the public. The question remains whether anyone will be held accountable. Em Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
We have an update on last week's oil spill at the Port of Victoria. Shamrock Products says there's no risk to surrounding communities at this time other than a noticeable nuisance from the odor. Shamrock Products LLC released about 300 barrels of crude substance into the port. Their statement said a valve on a petroleum product storage tank was damaged at their facility at the Port of Victoria. Approximately 300 barrels of material stored in the tank were spilled into the storage berm and were contained, with none entering the Victoria Barge Canal. The material in the tank consisted of crude oil, mercaptan, fuel oil B38, and reruns. They understand there are complaints of a cat urine / ammonia odor and rumors of a release of product with H2S. They say that none of their products contained ammonia or detectable levels of H2S. The odor emanating from their product was from the mercaptan. And regarding the smell in the air, for some, if you have concerns, contact local health officials. You can also file a report with the TCEQ by calling 888-777-3186. And that leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen to take part. We ask you, did the oil spill odor give you a headache? I know many of us could smell it quite poignantly on Saturday night. Let's take a look. Okay, so 28% of you say yes, you did get a headache, and 72% of you say no. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. The time is now 6:48 on our Monday morning. Still to come, authorities have found a missing part of an Alaska Airlines plane that blew off in mid-flight.
Well, good morning, Crossroads. Expecting to see maybe some severe weather coming our way this afternoon. In fact, the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center have even issued a level 2 out of 5 risk for parts of Jackson, Warden, and Matagorda counties, including Houston. So if you have any family in Houston, you might want to let them know they might see some storms this afternoon, including Victoria and also Lavaca County are also in that level 1 out of 5, that marginal risk for some severe storms this afternoon. In fact, as we zoom out, you can see where the real risk is really over there in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where they might see some serious weather this afternoon. But if you're here at the Crossroads, not too much going out there on the radar right now. Maybe a couple of weak showers, maybe a couple moderate as well up there in Hallettsville and just south of Gonzales, coming into Cuero probably the next 20 sort of minutes, I'd say, if I had to guess. But look at the future tracker here for the rest of the day. This is going to be a completely different story from the live Doppler right now. Going into the afternoon, you can see by 1, 2, 3, and 4 p.m. They got a squall line that's going to develop in the northwestern counties, bringing, like I said, possibly an embedded tornado in there. That's going to be the lowest risk. Lowest risk is tornadoes, but strong winds and small hail is going to be the main risk associated with that squall line coming our way. But we'll take a look at that and more in just a few more moments. Carolina, back to you.
Rescue workers are continuing their efforts and saved an elderly woman in her 90s after more than 120 hours after a powerful earthquake struck Japan. Miraculous rescues underway in Japan as 2 women were trapped in the rubble. One of the women was in her 90s. They were found by crews in a collapsed house in the rain this weekend following a 7.6 earthquake. The elderly woman was responsive, however, the other woman who was in her 40s showed no vital signs. The Ishikawa government says 126 people are confirmed dead and more than 200 are still missing. India's and still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go. According to the FDA, lead-tainted applesauce pouches may have also contained another toxic substance. The United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket launched on its first inaugural flight early this morning. The rocket lifted off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida at 2:18 a.m. Eastern. It's carrying the private astrobotic Peregrine moon lander and human remains on a mission to the moon in deep space. The powerful rocket was under development for a decade by the Boeing Lockheed Venture United Launch Alliance, and it'll mark the first U.S. soft landing on the moon since the final Apollo landing in 1972, and the first ever lunar landing by a private company. Authorities have found the missing part of the Alaska Airlines plane that blew off in the middle of flight. The door plug was found in an Oregon teacher's backyard Sunday night. Authorities say that the piece could be key to the investigation into what caused it to detach from a plane mid-flight on Friday. During a press conference, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy said some factors were complicating the investigation. The plane's cockpit voice recorder was inadvertently taped over at the time of the incident. No passengers were seated directly next to the section of the plane that blew off. The FDA says lead-tainted applesauce pouches may have also contained another toxic substance. Besides lead, the organization detected a high level of the chemical element chromium in the Wanna-Banna apple cinnamon fruit puree. The substance was also found in cinnamon collected from the Ecuador factory where the pouches were manufactured. The FDA tested samples of the recalled product as part of its investigation into cases of lead poisoning in the U.S. that are linked to the applesauce. In addition to the Wanna-Banna cinnamon applesauce, the recall included 2 other products made by the company. The supermarket brand Schnucks applesauce pouches with cinnamon and Weiss cinnamon applesauce. As of December 29th, the CDC has received 287 confirmed, probable, suspected reports of elevated lead levels linked to the pouches across 37 states. It's unclear whether the children exposed to the chromium are at risk for serious health problems. Commissioner's Court meets today at 10 a.m. at the Victoria County Courthouse. We have some items from the agenda. They'll discuss and consider modifications to early voting times in accordance with new laws. They'll also hear a proclamation for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day 2024. Virtual meeting options are available if you cannot attend today's meeting in person. The Victoria County Public Health Department is partnering with Midcoast Family Services to put on a prevention and education class on vaping. You can join them Saturday, January 13th for a presentation on the dangers of vaping and how families can work together to combat the risk effectively. They'll meet in the classroom at the Health Department at 2805 North Navarro. That's at 10 a.m. and lunch will be provided. Community service hours earn credit signed upon request. While the number of midwives in Texas has increased steadily over the past decade, it's still a fraction of what advocates would like to see. The state agency that oversees midwives is trying to make it easier for women to join the profession. You can read this story by the Texas Tribune on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And we want to invite y'all to experience our new digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. We have time for a final check of our forecast with Parker. Parker, a little bit of a severe weather alert looking?
Yep, I got issued alert day for today because we might see some severe weather in some eastern counties this afternoon. Let's take a look at the forecast area. We're thinking Jackson, Wharton, and Matagorda counties are all under the gun for possibly some strong winds and some small hail as main risk, but a tornado cannot be ruled out. Now, this storm is going to be developing around 3 to 5 p.m. this afternoon with a squall line coming our way out of the northwest. Look at the live Doppler right now. Not too much out there right now. Maybe a couple of weak showers up there in Gonzales and Healthville. Maybe a little moderate as well. But to take a look at the future tracker, this is going to tell a completely different story. Going into noontime and especially going into the afternoon, you got that squall line is going to develop right there in the northwestern counties when that heat starts building up in the day. It's going to be a nice warm day. Come through our area by around 3, 4, 5 p.m. Like I said, bringing possibly some embedded hail and possibly a tornado as well. But for the rest of the day is also going to be very windy with gusts up to 40 miles an hour possible today. Very windy, including for the rest of this week is going to be windy with conditions as the new couple systems come our way, bringing a couple fronts our way. It's going to be lots of roller coaster weather coming our way this week, Carolina.
All right, Parker. Parker. Well, thank you for that forecast, and thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful start to your week. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us tonight for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10.